Oh, David, that reading. When to let go and when to not. So many times we're like, especially if you're raised in traditional Christianity, a lot of times, like I was, a lot of times you have this, it's just not God's will. Here's the thing. God created the good and the out of itself and just kept creating and imbued us with this creative power to live a good life, to live a happy life, to live a joyful, free, healthy, prosperous, loving life so that we can rub off on each other and create a world that works for everyone. Not to struggle, but to thrive, not to survive, okay? And so we got to be careful that we don't go, it's just God's will. Because, who's stopping, who's clogging the flow of that will if it's flowing through us? So, yes, we got to know when to throw in the towel, when to surrender. It's such a huge part. And this balance between surrendering, right? Not giving outside of ourselves, but giving into. That balance between giving in to surrender and staying the course to manifest something is a constant conversation, is it not? A constant conversation, and it's about finding balance between the being and the doing. And so manifesting is not forcing. That's how you know if you need to release and just stop. It's when you're beating your head against the wall. Like when I first started booking myself, I was like, I'm calling bars on Mondays at 2 o'clock. That's what I'm doing. That's my booking time. Guess what's closed on Mondays at 2 o'clock? Bars. Yeah. So, but I decided that because I was so in my creative brain, right? I knew that if I didn't figure out how to get some of the left brain active in there, that I was not going to be able to pay the bills. So I was like, okay, structure. I need structure. I'm going to force this structure. And it didn't exactly work. So I had to step back and go, okay, wait a second. I'm trying to force something. How many times in our lives do we try to force instead of just aligning with a power moving through us? That's the difference, aligning with the power of creation moving through you. But a lot of times it takes getting out of our own way, right? Getting out of our own way. I'm going to talk about that a little bit today. Some ways that we do it and some ways that we can stop doing it. I think that'd be helpful. So I know that the poet Samuel Taylor Coleridge coined the phrase, the willing suspension of disbelief. I know that. But when I remember knowing that phrase was in 1995 when I met a woman named Dee Dee Vogt. And she had put out, we recorded with Dee Dee down there in Atlanta. And I was in her studio and she had some of her CDs out. And one of them was called The Willing Suspension of Disbelief. And I thought, that's cool. I like that. I want to think about that a minute. Now, this was before I got into Science of Mind or New Thought or any type of affirmative living. That was back when the CD I was working on got lots of great reviews musically and structurally for the songs, but the content, the reviews sounded something like this. If Snow could get in a good relationship, we'd all be happier. Yeah. I see the Joni Mitchell slant in some of her writing, but it makes me want to die. I don't remember exactly. It wasn't quite that harsh, but it was pretty harsh. It was a CD called No Doubts, No Fears. It was full of doubt and fear. But anyway, I digress. My point is, when I saw this CD of Dee Dee's that was named The Willing Suspension of Disbelief, I started thinking about that. And I started applying it to my life, and I started unknowingly living in accordance with spiritual law. Because I started making it a point to, if I felt pulled to something, if I felt strongly pulled to something, I felt led to trust in that. To trust and to willingly suspend all the reasons why it wouldn't work. To willingly suspend all the advice my family was so loving and giving me when I started out to be a full-time musician. They just meant well. And so I took a chance to willingly suspend that disbelief. You see, because thought plus feeling equals outcome. We talked about that in our class this morning. Thank you all so much for coming. We had like 13 people show up. That was great. And we'll have more of those. But we talked about this spiritual law and how thought plus feeling equals outcome, but it filters through us to get out into the world as our manifestation. So if it's filtering through some beliefs that are not serving us, then it's helpful to sometimes have a willing suspension of those disbeliefs. Willing suspension. So I was unknowingly following in accordance with spiritual law because I was feeling pulled. Back then, in the early 90s, I'm just going to help y'all with something you may not know about. In the early 90s, if you wanted a record, as we say in the business, you needed to have a record deal or a benefactor. I didn't have a record deal. I didn't have a benefactor. I had me and a guitar and a whole lot of heart and a whole lot of passion and some really good friends that traveled to Atlanta. I appreciate y'all. I still remember that. Traveled to Atlanta to record with me. But it was that pull of the heart, that pull of I know I'm supposed to be doing this. I don't know how, but I know I'm supposed to be doing this. I'm so glad I knew I was supposed to be doing this in 1989 or 90, whenever I first started. I know I'm supposed to be doing this. And I kept doing it because I kept feeling that pull. And I knew that if God brought me to it, God would bring me through it. So I just kept saying, okay, I don't know how. Little did I know that I would later be a Science of Mind minister, constantly telling people, we don't have to worry about the how. That's the universe's job. You just decide what and let go. Let go. Set the direction and let go. So the Science of Mind quote again that David shared with us, the only secret, is this from today? Yes. The only secret is the persistent ability to use the law and the determination to continue to use it until we prove it. So the law of mind action, the law of attraction, this law, this spiritual law that says input equals output, right? Thought plus feeling equals outcome. The only secret to it is deciding to use it and continuing to use it till you prove it. Or as we say a lot of times in class, you'll hear people say, treat until you demonstrate, right? Use it until you prove it in your own life. Dr. Ernest Holmes, who founded this teaching, said, don't believe me, try this stuff, right? Everybody that was in that class this morning that's ever taken a class with me, don't believe me, try it in your own life and see what happens. I look out here and I see the people that I've watched use it in their own life, and it's amazing because when our lives continue to improve, we continue to help the world around us to improve, to feel better, to live better, to be in flow with that. So it's that balance of being and doing, though. The balance of being and doing, letting the being be the director, right? Let our doing be directed by our being, by our inner being, our set point. And so if you want to create more peace, you have to find ways to be peace. I know I say this all the time, that we have to be it to see it, but let me break it down. I was working with someone this week, and she's having just like a lot of stuff. We've had those weeks, right? I had a day like that yesterday. But anyway, those days where everything is like, where's Ganesh? I need the remover of obstacles right now. There's all these things, and they seem to be in my path. I need help. So she was having just like one thing after another, and she's wanting peace. She's wanting to feel calm. And I said, okay, well, how about we just break it down to the meals? Let's practice some mindfulness and some being peace while you eat. It'll help your digestion, too, along the way. And she's like, can I tell you how my breakfast went? I was like grabbing something out the door, giving people orders, and I was like, okay, that was yesterday or today, but just hold on. And so I said, I don't care if you take one bite in peace. Let's start with one bite. She texted me later. She's like, I got 3 bites of peace this morning. So whatever it takes to bring peace here, to bring whatever it is, financial abundance, love, harmony, joy, new career, whatever it is that you feel like is out there, it's going to stay out there till you bring it in here. Till you bring it in here and find ways to be it first. It's not when I see it, I believe it. It's when I believe it, I'll see it. So we got to bring that into us and find ways to be pull the future into the now, to be that right now. And let our being be filled with the fullness of God. That's a little spoiler alert for tomorrow's Science of Mind magazine. The quote is, let your being be filled with the fullness of God. What does that mean? The fullness of God, just the overflow. I was in my gospel mode this morning. I was listening to the gospel. I was listening to Tasha Cobb, I think's her name. Oh, fill me up till I'm overflowing. And I was just like, oh, that's a little more traditional than I'm used to. And then I was like, oh, but wait, I was starting to feel it. No, it's a little more traditional. I'm going to change it. Oh, but wait, I'm starting to feel, ooh, fill me up. And the next thing you know, I was like in my living room, fill me up, Lord, till I'm overflowing. Whatever it takes to get you to that place of communion with the divine. Like I've said a million times, the divine is often felt in my hammock. Whatever it takes for you, feel it. Feel it. It doesn't matter if we say the most beautiful, most eloquent treatment, which is our word for affirmative prayer, if we're not feeling it, feeling into it. Let your being be filled with the fullness of God. To be filled with the fullness of God is to manifest our true nature, is the full quote. Is to manifest our true nature. And so this use of the law, they say use it or you'll lose it. It's actually not true with spiritual law. You'll never lose it. It's never going away. It's always going to be your constant companion. It's always going to be standing right beside you going, okay, what's the input for today? I got your output. What's the input for today? I got your output. It doesn't always show up that fast. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. But what's your input? It's standing there waiting. And we just have to have that willing suspension of disbelief long enough to get out of the way. So, some other examples of ways we get in the way. I know y'all gonna be like, oh, she's talking about complaining again. Y'all, it's because we do it. We all do it. We do it, and we keep doing it. We find ourselves doing it. We don't even know we're doing it until we have a complaint-free buddy that'll be like, I'm not judging you, but I think that might have been a complaint. How can we turn that into a gratitude? Make sure you don't judge. That does not make a fun buddy. Yeah. Don't be like, oh, you're judging. You're complaining. Don't do that. Just be like, I wonder if there's a way you could say that as a gratitude. A gratitude, yeah. So, like, everything in my past, I'm thinking back, like, I could have done better yesterday. I'm going to be honest. I was not a skilled human yesterday. Ever have those days? I was just not my best skilled human self. Sorry, honey, if you're watching. I love you. Yeah, sorry. She was like, okay, well, you're a little bitey, so I'm going to let you have your meditation time. I'm going to call you back. So it happens to all of us, right? And I was in that place of all the things that were going wrong. And here's the thing, though. Complaining is our friend in a way because it's shining. It's like somebody standing beside us, shining a flashlight on all the things that we're refusing to change. It's shining a flashlight on all the ways we're wasting our energy. So while I was being a little about not having the pet sitter options in Thurman that we have here, and what am I going to do? Take 2 dogs and a cat to church? I mean, I guess I will. I'll just have to take them. I mean, that'll be fun, in my feels about it. And then I realized I'd had this conversation. And I'd had this conversation. And I hadn't done anything about this conversation. Oh, the flashlight. It was a flashlight on the ways that I was wasting my energy when all I had to do was tap in and say, I'm attracted to the right and perfect people at the right and perfect time for the right and perfect assistance for my life. Thank God I have a partner who reminds me, honey, I already found you a pet sitter. Call her. From Georgia, she handles it. Anyway, but brought me back to my center, right? We need that accountability. We need that help sometimes. And I'm just telling you, I'm just being real because I don't want y'all to think that, oh, she's talking about complaining because she never complains. Those of you who know me well enough know that's just not true. I do my best. But I do have those moments, and that's okay. Give yourself grace when you have those moments, when you fall short with your partner or your best friend or yourself. Give yourself grace. But getting out of the way really takes taking the complaining out of the way. But starting to notice, I'm telling you, when you do the complaint-free challenge, we need to order some more of those. Can someone please remind me to get more of those bracelets? Let's just do it. Let's just do it. Don't remind me now. Remind me later. Like as many people as you want. Just text me, purple bracelet. That's all you got to do is just send me an email, purple bracelet. And I'm going to get us some purple bracelets, and we're going to put them on one side. And if you go through the whole day without complaining, it gets to stay there. But then if you complain the next day, it goes to here. And the point is to go 21 days consecutive without complaining. You will be amazed how much you complain and how much energy. Now, don't forget that part. It's not just about a game. It's energy that you're wasting, that we're wasting when we could be creating something we want. All right, so complaining, we get in our way. Old tapes. Let the old tapes go. Those old tapes of not enough. Those old tapes of what if I fail, like the reading, right? Those old tapes of, I just don't know. I don't know if this will work. I don't know if it's a good idea. I don't know if I can really be vulnerable with this person, if I can really trust this person. Whatever the old tapes are that stand in your way of thriving instead of just surviving, let them go. Old tapes, complaining. The seeing it, like I mentioned already, choosing to say, I'll believe it when I see it, letting that go and choosing to stay instead. I'm going to see it. Wait, I said it backwards. I'll see it, I'll believe it when I see it. You'll see it when you believe it. There we go. Choosing to know that it's going to show up when you believe it. You'll see it when you believe it. That one always, it's a tongue twister for me, but you know what I mean. It'll show up when you fully embody that belief and live from that place. And focusing on, this is kind of like alongside of complaining, but when we focus on what is not working, even if we're not complaining about it verbally, but when we really focus on what's not working, all the ways that we don't have what we want, also bleeding out. We're just bleeding out creative energy. Switch it. Flip the script. I tell people, if you're trying to figure out what to have your affirmative prayer, your treatment be about, look at what you don't like and flip the script and write that treatment. Next one is inaction. When you're just staying stuck for stuck's sake. Just realized how that sounded. Anyway, when you're staying stuck and you're just staying stuck and you're staying stuck, make a movement. Even if it's a tiny one, make a movement. So yesterday, my father-in-law called. I'm like, hey, Daddy-O. He's in my phone as Daddy-O. He's the cutest. And what's up? He said, what are you doing? I said, and I didn't even think about it. What rolled off my tongue was just planning the I was back in a good mood by then, by the way. I said, just planning the logistics of a wonderful life. Because I had a reality check. And I'm like, I have an amazing life, like I talked about last week, right? I was upset with my little hammock, my beach situation, camping, and I realized this was a good situation. I was at the beach and I was camping. Same kind of thing happened yesterday. Like, I'm planning the logistics of a wonderful life. What if we looked at the bumps in the road as planning the logistics of a wonderful life instead of, this again, you don't want to know, right? Planning the logistics of a wonderful life. So what is that? The detailed coordination of complex operation. The detailed coordination of a complex operation. That's logistics. Detailed coordination. I keep saying it wrong. Detailed coordination of a complex operation. So just walking from here to here is a complex operation. Thank God we don't have to know how to do it. Our body just does it. Right? There's all these, our brains are so amazing that it just does that, right? It pumps the right amount of blood, moves the right amount of muscles, has the right amount of firing in the brain, all those things just to move across the stage. And then you add in playing an instrument, or you add in hugging somebody, or doing a reading, you add in, we don't even have to think about it. We just step into it. The same is true with creating in our lives. We don't have to figure out all those details, all of those logistics, but they are happening. We just have to figure out our part, right? So let's spell logistics. I love an acronym. Let's spell logistics. Logistics, look, your awareness, being aware that your life is already a wonderful life, that's step one. Being aware of all that you have is step one. So looking. And then order, getting things in order. Get your thoughts in order. Get your life in order. Y'all, I'm not kidding. I looked at my notes this morning. It said, get your wife in order. And I'm like, I did typo. Get your wife in order. She would have loved that one. Okay, get your thoughts in order. Get your life in order. Start looking at ways that you are a little, you remember Pigpen from Peanuts? Start looking at ways, because I got some ways to clean up. My car, like right now, it going back and forth, it needs a little help. It looks like, I don't know, it's my third home or something. I don't know. But I need to fix that. Because when we have a clutter situation around us, my houses are clean and not cluttered, which is wonderful, but my car is a mess. And I realized it as I was thinking about this talk this morning, because order is so important. Order is so important because we drain out our energy. For the longest time, you've heard me talk about how my garage used to be before it was my little sanctuary. And every time I would think about the garage, I lost energy. Every time I would think about, the same is true for those emails you haven't returned, or that person you've been meaning to have a talk with. You're losing your energy. You're just bleeding out energy, creative energy that could be used for something else. So look for the good. Look for where the life is wonderful. Get your thoughts in order. Get your life in order. And watch the order continue to unfold easier. G, give thanks. Look for ways constantly to be giving thanks, giving thanks, giving thanks. My dear friend Eddie Watkins Jr. has a chant that says, thank you, God, for everything. That's it. Thank you, God, for everything. That's the whole song. Thank you, God, for everything. I encourage you to go download it and listen to it over and over and over. When you get out of that place of gratitude, that'll take you back. Every time he sits down to eat, he starts humming it. It's awesome. He's constantly singing and living the songs that he sings. So let us live and sing the affirmations that we are constantly surrounding ourselves with and saying in this community together. Gratitude's a big one. And then I, inspiration. Expect to be inspired. I was talking to Jack Howell yesterday about John Prine, and we were talking about the song "Angel from Montgomery," and he goes, "Those lyrics, though, who wrote that?" I was like, "John Prine, actually," and he said that he must have been an interesting dude, and I said he really was. He was always writing about the weirdest things that were actually real life, and I thought that's us. That's what writers do. We're always looking for the lyric. Ministers do it too. Always looking for the talk. I was looking for the talk title, and writers are always looking for the lyric or looking for the book title or whatever. So what if we all chose to look at life looking for the inspiration? Like, oh, yeah, that's a good story. I'm going to remember that one. I'm going to share that inspiration, looking for the inspiration. And then S, staying the course, but not the course in the old way. Staying the course in the direction that you want to go. Staying the course of being that creative flow. And then trusting in your at oneness, trusting in the oneness between you and the infinite divine, by whatever name you give it, trusting that there is this power and presence moving through all of life that is for you and that has your back, that is with you, and is constantly unfolding events for your good. And then it's a long word. You still with me? Include it all. Include it all. In other words, hold it, as Jeff Foster would say, to hold everything in love. When you have a spat with a friend or a spouse, or you're not your most skilled self, to hold it in love for yourself, to hold it in love for the other person, to lean into the conversations that are uncomfortable. People tell me all the time, "Man, how do you have those conversations?" I'm like, "I don't know what you mean." They're like, "You just say it. You just say stuff." And I'm like, "Well, why would I waste time not just saying stuff?" But I always say it with love. Holding the conversation with love doesn't mean you don't speak your mind. It doesn't mean you don't speak your truth. Holding it all in love is giving yourself grace, giving the other person grace, but also being clear in your words, in your actions, in your intentions, including it all. And then C, calling it forth. My teacher, Reverend Dr. Lisa Stewart, says, make a demand on law. I was like, that's like telling God what to do? I don't know how I feel about that. That feels, ooh. She said, it's not a disrespectful thing to use what someone gives you, is it? It's not a disrespectful thing to put to good use a gift that someone gives you. So we've been given this gift of the way the spiritual laws work. It's kind of an insult if we don't make a demand on law. In other words, calling it forth, saying it as so. When we do our affirmations and our affirmative prayers, we speak it as if it's already so, convincing our consciousness to the level that it can't help but be drawn to us, to the level that it can't help to come to us. Calling it forth. And then S, taking steps. Steps. What are you going to do about it, right? What are the steps you're going to take? The micro movements, if need be. That 1, 2, 3 bites apiece. Okay, there's more peace than yesterday, right? That one little act of generosity. Okay, there's more prosperity flowing in your life than yesterday because you got into the flow of giving. Or maybe you got in the flow of receiving. Sometimes we have a hard time receiving, right? Both sides of the same coin. Dance of reciprocity with the infinite. So use it until you prove it in your life. Use it to prove it. We wait. So many times we wait. What are we waiting for? Use it. Stop being in that holding pattern, right? It's like you're waiting to land and you're circling and the pilot's got your inner pilot is coming down for the descent and it's getting ready to land. And then you're like, oh, I don't know. And then it goes back up and it's circling again. Meanwhile, the universe is down there clearing the runway, making way for you, just clearing the runway, making way. And you're like, no, maybe not, I might fail. I don't know, I don't want to do that. It's too intimate. Whatever it is, right? Take the plunge, take the dive, do it. So one last thing I want to leave you with, and that is from Wallace Wattles, The Science of Getting Rich. Because it speaks to how the spiritual law stuff works, how the infinite field, the quantum field, whatever you want to call it, how it works. Pardon me. There's a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which, in its original state, permeates, penetrates, and fills the inner spaces of the universe. A thought in this substance produces the thing that is imaged by the thought. Man can form things in his thought. It's old language, ladies, just bear with me. We can form things in our thought, and by impressing this thought upon formless substance can cause the thing we think about to be created. We are impressing a formless substance to take form, but it does need to filter through those layers of belief, so sometimes we need to suspend some, right? And lastly, another spoiler alert from tomorrow's Science Mind magazine. I love this magazine. You should check it out. But one of the quotes says, "If I had my life to do over, I'd dare to make more mistakes next time. I'd relax. I'd limber up. I'd be sillier this next trip." So let's use this creative law. Let's use this beautiful teaching to continually to improve our lives, to help others improve theirs, to live life fully so that we are singing and dancing and living from that place and that point of power that is peace and harmony and joy and prosperity and love. But let's keep doing that to help ourselves and to help others, while at the same time having fun, y'all. Let's have some fun. Yes? Let's have fun. All right. Amen.